Hello and welcome to this free training on how to create stunning digital calligraphy on the iPad with no experience or special tech skills, even if you have messy handwriting and don't think you're creative enough. If we haven't met before, my name is Nicole. I started a website called iPad Calligraphy in 2016, and I teach all sorts of people digital calligraphy on the iPad. So I'm going to jump over to my slides right now so we can dive straight into the class. So today I'm going to show you how you can go from feeling confused and overwhelmed by calligraphy on the iPad, uncertain where to start or what to do next, to confidently creating Instagram-worthy calligraphy that you're proud of. Now's the time to put your phone on silent and close the door, turn off all distractions and give yourself permission to pay full attention to this class so we can make the most of our time together today. You don't need to have your iPad in front of you for this, but you can if you like, and you're welcome to take notes or screenshots throughout the class. I'll start by introducing myself and then we'll move into the main part of the training. This will go for approximately 30 to 40 minutes. And if you stick with me to the end today, not only will you learn some actionable steps that you can use straight away, but you'll also get access to a special link to download a free goodies pack. So this includes the iPad Calligraphy Starter Kit, which comes with the first module of the worksheets, which is the basic strokes, a shiny gold foil texture, and pressure-sensitive calligraphy brush. And if you decide to move forward with me on this lettering journey, I have a very, very special bonus that I only share with my students, and it's only available for a limited time after you finish the workshop. So definitely keep an eye out for the details towards the end of our session. More on that later. I'll be starting on screen with slides like this, but there will also be practical parts later where I'll jump over to the iPad. So I'm guessing if you're here today, you've probably tried to learn calligraphy at some point before and it hasn't worked out for you. You may have tried to piece it together yourself by watching a lot of videos on YouTube or maybe Instagram. And maybe some of you have even tried your hand at traditional calligraphy and gotten a little way with it, but given up because it's too messy or difficult and you just weren't progressing fast enough. That is completely okay. Don't think there's anything wrong with you. It's super common and it doesn't mean that you're not talented or not creative enough. There's so much information out there, it can be really confusing to piece it together in the right order and filter out the stuff that doesn't move you forward. If you have ever felt that you just can't do this or it's not for you, I want you to put those fears to rest right now because you need to know the right steps in the right order to really develop your lettering and calligraphy skills. And that's what I'm going to show you how to do today. So you're in the right place today if you'd love to express your creative ideas on the iPad and the thought of being able to do so inspires you, but you're a complete beginner, you don't know where to start or what to focus on, and you feel completely overwhelmed. Or maybe you've tried to do this before and failed. You just want someone to tell you what steps to take, in what order, and how to get there. Or maybe you're one of those people that chooses your wine based purely on how good the lettering on the label is. And you are most definitely in the right place if that's you. I am probably a 3, I think. I hope that doesn't make me sound like I drink too much wine, but I do spend a lot of time going through the aisles in the bottle shop, staring at the wine labels and taking photos for inspiration. So that's definitely me. I can tell you though, you're not in the right place here today if you think there's some magic bullet or secret iPad brush setting that will instantly make you a talented calligraphy artist. This doesn't exist. So if you're expecting an overnight transformation, this class is probably not for you. I can show you the quickest way forward, but it takes real effort and practice from you to actually get there and make it happen. But as long as you're up for that challenge, it is possible and in less time than you might think. So if this is our first time together, allow me to introduce myself here briefly. This is me with my partner, Darren, and our little guy, Charlie. Darren and I met in London, England, but we moved back to Brisbane, Australia, which is where I'm originally from, about 5 years ago. Darren and I were living in a 1-bed flat in London, and I was working from home on my web design clients. So I've been a digital designer for over 20 years now and freelanced in London for about 8 years. I had my desk set up in the corner of our living room. And whenever I got the chance, I would pull out my calligraphy supplies to practice. I would also need some pre-made guidelines drawn up, so on paper, ready to go. So needless to say, there was a lot of setup prep involved. I was finding that after the initial setup, I'd sit down to practice and I'd get maybe 5 minutes into it before it was time to pack up because I had something else I needed to do. So while I was still enjoying the process, I wasn't really making any progress or seeing any significant improvement. Every time I had a spare 20 minutes, the prep time was so elaborate that I had to pack up again. So one day while scrolling through Instagram, I came across a post from a guy I was following, but the video showed him writing some beautiful calligraphy directly on the iPad. I was walking down the street at the time and I literally stopped in the middle of the pathway to watch and then re-watch this video like at least 3 or 4 times. It was like a bolt of lightning struck me. It was so effortless and I couldn't believe how natural it looked. I began to think about all the problems this would solve. I wouldn't have to scan in my work and go through the laborious task of converting it to a digital format because it would already be digital. So I immediately knew this is what I wanted to do. So I literally went to the Apple store that night and bought a brand new iPad. So I have been known to be a little impulsive at times, but I like to think of it more as decisive. Anyway, I got home and sat on the couch, opened the Procreate app and started playing around with it. This was back in 2016, which was pretty much the Wild West days of digital calligraphy. And there was very little out there in terms of proper training or courses. I hunted high and low online and I couldn't find anything. So I knew I had to take my traditional stuff and convert that to digital. So I created a calligraphy practice guide for Procreate. I experimented for weeks and created a special pressure-sensitive brush that behaved as close as possible to a real dip pen, and I found I could adjust some brush settings to get it smoother and stabilize the strokes. But most of all, I practiced. And one day I was talking to Dustin Lee from Retro Supply, and Dustin commented he had noticed my calligraphy had really improved in a short time. And he was like, oh, it must be the streamline setting on your digital brush in Procreate. What amount is it set to? And a little side note here, it's absolutely not cheating to use streamline because you are writing on glass with a plastic nib. And nothing about that experience is like writing on paper. Streamline helps you reduce wobbles and jitters and gives you better control, but the calligraphy itself has to come from you. I realized in this moment how far I'd come. I did have streamline on my brush, but what it really came down to was the fact that I was actually practicing calligraphy in my practice time. Without all that elaborate setup, not only was I able to dedicate the entire practice session to actually practicing, but also all these extra opportunities to practice opened up. I could take my iPad anywhere. I could practice outside in the garden. I could practice on the couch, even from bed if I wanted. Other people were starting to notice too, and they wanted to learn. And that's how the iPad calligraphy website was born. And since then, I've helped over 7,000 people learn copperplate calligraphy in Procreate. It's not long ago that I was a complete beginner as well. So I remember what it feels like to try and work this out, especially learning 2 different learning paths, so the calligraphy side and Procreate. It can feel really overwhelming. But learning today is a completely different experience than when I was starting out. You have a lot more opportunity to learn from people that have done this already. And by honing in on one style and following that through with a step-by-step plan, you're actually able to reach your goals a lot quicker. So before we go any further, just to check we're on the same page, I'll be talking a lot today about an iPad app called Procreate. If you haven't heard of Procreate before, it's a very popular graphics app for the iPad that's perfect for lettering and calligraphy. And don't worry, it's not some crazy expensive subscription like you find these days. You can pick it up from the App Store for a one-time payment of $12.99. And the pressure sensitivity brushes in Procreate give us the ability to create those thick and thin strokes which mimic the traditional tools. So the traditional tools are where the styles get their unique aesthetic differences. For instance, Brush Script has quite thick, wide strokes, and then the thin strokes are quite thin. The traditional tool used to create it are brush pens or paintbrushes, and that gives it its unique style. Or in the case of monoline, the lack of contrast are what gives monoline its unique style. And this is due to the pen having a consistent weight regardless of the pressure. In the case of copperplate calligraphy, which is the style that I specialise in, traditionally it's created with a pointed pen, and this dictates the width of the strokes and the contrast between the thick and thin strokes. And the reason for the width change is the nib expands when you apply pressure, and that area fills with ink, and that gives you those thicker strokes. So when you use a lighter pressure, the nib contracts again and delivers a thinner stroke. So the tool is really what makes the style. So when you're in Procreate, we replicate the pressure changes that you see with traditional tools in the digital brushes, and that gives us those contrasted stroke weights. And while we're on the topic of digital tools, if you don't have an Apple Pencil, but you've got another brand of stylus, That's totally fine, as long as it has those pressure-sensitive capabilities so that you can get the stroke width changes when applying pressure. So, can you imagine what it would feel like to just pick up your Apple Pencil and confidently write beautiful calligraphy in Procreate? Being able to express exactly what's in your head, not experience frustration when you sit down at your iPad, but to instead feel confident. And I'm here today to show you exactly how to make that happen. Learning copperplate calligraphy is the most effective and efficient way to become a confident iPad calligraphy artist. And the best way to do that is to develop your skills through muscle memory. You don't need to spend years and years practicing to become a confident iPad lettering artist. Learning calligraphy as well as learning the iPad, and it makes sense to think that learning those two things at once would take more time. But that's not actually the case. I'm going to show you the most direct path to have you writing digital calligraphy in as little as 1 month. We'll also see how the digital version can be even quicker than learning the traditional method. Just like any journey, if you know the way to go, instead of following detours and distractions, you'll get there a lot sooner. You don't need to learn all 26 individual letters. Want to know why? All those letter forms are made with just 8 simple strokes. So these are known as the basic strokes. By learning these 8 strokes, you unlock the entire alphabet. Calligraphy is different from running writing. Rather than making a single pass over the word and joining all the letters together in an unbroken chain, calligraphy letter forms are sort of drawn. They're made up of individual strokes that overlap and look as if they're joined together. So in most cases, when you write a single letter, you're actually picking up your pen, or in our case, the Apple Pencil, at least once or twice to form those different shapes. Like the G, for instance, here is made up of the O shape and the descender loop. Or the H is made up of the ascender loop and this stroke, which is called the pressure and release variation 2. The best and most efficient way to learn calligraphy is by practice and repetition. This then builds your muscle memory so you can produce these strokes consistently throughout your work. They're also a great way to increase confidence using the Apple Pencil and getting comfortable in Procreate. But you don't need to get them absolutely perfect before moving to the letter forms. Something I remind my students is that these same strokes are repeated throughout all the letter forms. So even when you move to that next stage, you're still practicing these basic strokes over and over because the letters are made up of them. And you don't need to be practicing for hours a day either. It's actually more beneficial to do shorter but more regular practice. So fitting in a 20 or 30-minute practice session a couple of times a week is all you really need to improve your skills. So we've covered level 1, which is learning the letter forms, and then the next step is level 2, which is all about connecting the letters to write words. It's important here because you need to give the letters the right space so they're not too cluttered and cramped, or on the opposite side, they're not too spaced out. It all comes down to legibility, but also aesthetically, like looking good, having a nice balanced design. And don't worry, it's not a guessing game. The letters are neatly divided into different groups based on common elements, and those groups have their own spacing rules, so you know exactly where to put them in relation to the letter next door. But flourishing is where the magic happens, so there's more. If you haven't heard of flourishing before, basically it's those fancy embellishments and extensions that come off the letters. These beautiful curves and swooshes play with the white space and they interact with each other. It takes a really nicely written calligraphy word and makes it art. So if you're like me and you work well with boundaries and guidelines, then you'll be glad to hear that there's also a set of rules that apply to flourishing. It's like they have their own set of letters. So in level 3, you learn how to draw these lovely shapes so you can use them with confidence in your own designs. And part of that is learning also how to compose a quote, say, across several lines. So that spacing element comes into it, but also the flourishes interact and play together. You don't need to be artistic or creative. You don't need any special iPad or technical skills. You don't even need neat handwriting, and you're never too old to learn. So this one might be a mouthful, but it's to address the most common obstacles that get in the way for people. You might experience one or a couple of these, or maybe even all of them. So let's start with the first one. Feeling like you have to have some kind of artistic background or needing to be naturally creative to learn digital calligraphy. This is a very common concern, but it's actually not the case. One of the things I love most about calligraphy is that it doesn't have to come completely from your imagination. A lot of what can be scary for people when doing a creative activity is coming up with ideas from out of nowhere and having a fear of the blank canvas. A student of mine, Colleen, agrees and says, I started iPad calligraphy with your guide and loving it, not only for practicing calligraphy, but also as a way for getting me into a creative mood. It helps get me over my fear of the blank page. I just do some practicing with your worksheets, no fear of that, and then my body settles into a creative flow. Plus, I love spending my evenings with a glass of wine and your worksheets. It's so relaxing. So Colleen loved the fact that the calligraphy workbooks were something that she could dive in and use straight away. You're able to develop your creativity by combining these elements, and in time, your own style will come. You don't need any drawing or artistic skills to take your lettering from very plain to beautiful, sparkling glitter. Once you know a few simple techniques, there are endless possibilities, so you never get stuck for ideas. Okay, so let's move on to the next one, feeling like you need special technical skills to use the Procreate app. A lot of people don't consider themselves to be good with technology, and it's understandable to assume that you would need to be technically savvy in order to create digital calligraphy. The Procreate app itself can seem very intimidating when you're starting out, especially because the interface is so minimal. There's not a lot of visual clutter like buttons or icons like you see in many of the other apps. And this is intentional. It's part of the app's design and it helps you focus on the artwork without distraction. Procreate is controlled mostly by gestures, which is just a fancy word for actions like double tapping on the screen or swiping up and down. Once you get used to these gestures, you can then move around with speed and ease. And as a side note, I have a great free cheat sheet for you guys today a bit later that will help with this as well. Don't feel intimidated or afraid of Procreate. I know learning calligraphy and Procreate at the same time can seem really daunting, but actually it comes down to a surprisingly small amount of actions that you need to know in order to use Procreate for calligraphy. And something a lot of people make the mistake of, they get sidetracked by the latest Procreate tip or trying to understand everything about Procreate right from the get-go. But that actually distracts them from progressing with their core calligraphy skills. Once you know the basics of Procreate and you have your calligraphy workbook set up, there's a handful of actions you need to know in order to actually just practice calligraphy. And once you do, just like everything else we've looked at today, you slowly introduce new knowledge and new techniques over time. You don't need to know it all at once, and you don't need to know it all at the beginning. So next, let's talk about the most common obstacle for people, and that is thinking that you need to have neat handwriting in order to learn calligraphy. If that's you, I want you to just give yourself a little internal nod because you're not alone there. This can really stop a lot of people even taking that first step. They feel as if they're lacking something in themselves to even try it out. So I've heard people say many times, I could never do this because I have really messy handwriting. But don't worry, most of us do. So this is my handwriting on the left and my calligraphy on the right. And by the way, that handwriting version is actually my attempt at being neat. It's actually worse than that most of the time. As we looked at earlier, calligraphy isn't created the same way as you write your normal running writing. And on the flip side, having good handwriting doesn't put you in a better position either because it's a completely different thing. So that's definitely something I want you to take away from today. So moving on to our last limiting belief, I'm too old to learn. So this can be felt by all sorts of people and not necessarily related to just one particular age group. Many people feel their days of learning and trying new things are over. But the only thing stopping you is your own mindset because you're never too old to stop learning. And it's actually really healthy for you to keep learning and it keeps you young. Some of the biggest mindset shifts people need to make when learning something new is working through imposter syndrome. When you're starting out, it's natural to feel like you don't belong. You're out of your comfort zone, but that's something everyone experiences and you just need to work through that period of discomfort. Knowing the feeling is normal and moving forward anyway separates the people that want to try new things and progress their skills and the people that let that temporary discomfort put them off entirely. This is not some kind of elite club. The only entry requirement is the willingness to learn and accept that it's going to look pretty bad at first, but you just have to keep going. A big motivation for teaching for me is because I want you to feel welcomed in this space and know that you have exactly what you need to do this. Just like the saying goes, progress, not perfection. So I want to show you now the behind-the-scenes method that the pros use to develop a beautiful calligraphy design. You might think the calligraphy artwork you admire is made by these amazing, flawless artists who can produce perfectly balanced designs in one effortless attempt. That is most definitely not the case. The real behind the scenes process is much more organic than that. I'm going to jump over to my iPad now because I want to show you an example of how it's done so you can see how achievable this really is. You don't need to understand every action you see in this demo. I'm not trying to teach you how to use Procreate or any of the calligraphy specific techniques, but the purpose of this is to show you that the design and creation process involves many attempts and iterations. It's a look behind the curtain so that you know this is something within reach for you too. So let me switch over to my iPad now. So I'm on my iPad now in Procreate. What I want to show you is how malleable a design can be. It's almost like molding clay, so you move and sculpt the design until it works and looks visually appealing. You'll come to learn how to spot those visual improvements over time as well, like we spoke earlier. Don't worry about not knowing that yet either. That comes with like the learning and over time. But just to start, I just want to explain one of the key features in Procreate that makes this process so flexible, and that's layers. So if you were creating a quote design using a traditional method of pen and paper, you'd have the guidelines on one sheet of paper, and then you'd have another thin weight paper or maybe even tracing paper that you can see those guidelines underneath. You would then write out your first version on that tracing paper, and then using another piece of tracing paper, you'd use that to trace over the parts that you want to keep and edit out the parts that you want to change. So you then repeat this process over and over until you were satisfied with the result. We use a similar principle with digital, but it's so much easier and more effective with the help of layers. I'll show you what I mean here. So I'm just going to draw the lowercase y. So I'll draw that and extend the flourish loop out like this, just bringing it up at the end here. I'm happy with the shape, but I think it'd be nice to add another little loop in there to make it a bit more decorative. So I can make my edits just by creating a new layer on top here, and I'm going to lower the opacity of that original layer. So that just means I'm going to make it nice and light, so it's not going to interfere with the next step. So to do that, you just tap on the N here in the thumbnail, and I'm going to pull this opacity slider back to make that layer a bit lighter. And I'm going to go back onto that new layer I created. And now remember, I have got a cheat sheet at the end of this session today, so that will explain all these steps in Procreate. So you can grab that if you want to see it all written out and follow along. And now I can clearly see what's underneath, and I'm going to redo that Y, but I'm just going to make an edit to the flourish. But it's really handy because I was happy with the rest of it, so I can just trace over that, but just then make that little change to the flourish here. So you can see what works. You can kind of take the bits you like and edit out those bits that you don't. And another thing I can do that's really useful as well, I'll show you another demo. So I've previously written out this word balance here. If you look closely, you can see that that uppercase B and the next letter next to it, the A, are pretty cramped. They're too close together. And there could also be some more white space between the A and the L here as well. So we could use the method we just looked at before, but there's actually an easier way with this particular scenario. So rather than tracing and moving the letters back on a new layer, we can actually edit this original layer here to get the spacing right before we make our second attempt with the tracing layer. So if I choose this tool in the top here, this little S icon, I can draw around part of the word now that I want to move and just tap on the screen. I'm going to nudge that letter over a bit until I'm happy with the spacing between those letters. See, I'm able to move anything enclosed in that selected area, or their marching ants they're called, and that part becomes completely independent to the rest of the layer. So once I deselect it, it's attached to that layer again. So that's all one layer again. And now we have a better spacing balance between that B and A. And we can do exactly the same here with the A and the L. So I'm just going to circle around the back of that word, tap on that and create a little bit more space between the A and the L. And don't worry that we're breaking the connection stroke here, because remember, we're going to redraw it on a new layer in just a moment anyway. So now I'm going to turn the opacity down again on our guide layer and create a new layer over the top. And I'm just going to redraw the word with that better spacing by referring to that guide layer underneath. So I hope you're getting the idea here. This process allows you to edit and refine your designs. And once you know those spacing and balance decisions, it's really an easy and flexible way of working. You can just improve and iterate. Great. So I wanted to just show you that in Procreate, but I'll just move back to my slides now. So that's it for the demo and class portion of today. I hope you got a lot from today's workshop and you're feeling inspired and excited to keep going. If you'd like to take the next step and go deeper with your lettering and Procreate skills with me, I'd love to show you how I can support you inside my full training. So if you're ready to learn calligraphy on the iPad in Procreate and you want a roadmap to do so, I'd love to invite you to my newly updated program, iPad Calligraphy from Scratch. This training is a unique online course that not only shows you exactly how to confidently write digital calligraphy and flourishing, but also how to master the essentials for Procreate to create beautiful iPad lettering designs, even if you're completely new. The training holds your hand through the entire learning process, and you will be impressing your friends and family, not to mention yourself, with your digital calligraphy skills in as little as 5 weeks. So by the end of the course, you will know exactly when to lift your pencil and how to make every stroke and letter of the alphabet in both upper and lowercase. You'll be able to write visually balanced words like a pro. You'll be using flourishes with confidence to embellish your compositions. You'll understand how to navigate and use Procreate to a very high level. You'll expertly be able to import Procreate files and custom brushes. You'll be completely comfortable using layers to refine your design layouts, and you'll be confidently commanding your Apple Pencil to write beautiful script calligraphy in Procreate. So you get instant lifetime access to the full course plus all the bonuses, which you can watch on demand at any time from any of your devices. To walk you through the modules now so that you can have a peek at what's inside, in Module 1, you get set up with Procreate and you install all your practice workbooks, brushes, and resources, and you'll get a detailed guided tour of Procreate and learn the key gestures and actions you need to know. Then we move on to the practical content in Module 2 and 3, which covers Level 1, and that's all about learning the letter forms. So by using my 3 steps to muscle memory, you'll learn exactly how to write the upper and lowercase letters. You'll create some pretty rainbow gradient calligraphy as well for a fun special project. In Module 4, we move on to Level 2, which gives you foolproof tips for connecting and spacing letters in order to write visually balanced words, so that you can bypass all the common mistakes for cluttered or overspaced letters. So we'll also create a decorative frame as a more advanced project, which you can use in your beautiful digital calligraphy designs. And your confidence using Procreate will have grown a lot by now. And finally, Module 5 is the culmination of everything you've learned. This module then completes your transformation with the skill of flourishing and composing beautiful calligraphy artwork. This is where the rubber meets the road and everything comes together as you compose quote designs across several lines in full control of how the words interact and play together. We finish the course with a beautiful glitter lettering quote design for our final project. So we went from literally never opening Procreate before to creating beautiful flourish quote designs using texture and color, and that kind of transformation is something you can enjoy for the rest of your life. One of my previous students, Paylin, said, "The breakdown of skills into manageable parts made learning calligraphy easier than I thought and helped me retain what I had learned. Now I can pick up my iPad and pencil and write confidently, even if I had taken a week or maybe even a month off." I've seen many teachers separate the levels into 3 different courses before, but I personally prefer to package them into one. The reason being, once you learn the letters in Level 1, you then need Level 2 to help with connecting and spacing the letters in order to write visually balanced words. And you could stop there, but I know, like myself, a lot of people are attracted to this art form because of flourishing. So I made sure that Level 3 was also included so that you can complete the journey and create stunning flourishes and beautiful calligraphy designs. So with Level 1, 2, and 3, that's really 3 courses in one with a total value of $527. Along with the 5 modules of video training, you'll also get the full set of 20 workbooks for Procreate with over 120 pages of practice sheets covering all 3 levels. This is also available as a left-hand version if needed. And all your calligraphy brushes and extra Procreate resources, like my best-selling glitter and foil kit, are included as well. And if you like seeing things written out, then you'll be glad to hear that there's a lot of printable cheat sheets throughout the training, so you can find the info you need really easily at any time. Remember we spoke earlier about the iPad being like riding on ice and how it's really slippery and can be difficult to control. Well, that's the number one struggle people have when starting out. So there's a good chance that you'll encounter this too. So I'm including a brand new course, Eliminate Wobbly Strokes in Procreate. This bonus course walks you through the exact brush adjustments to improve the stabilization settings for your own unique way of using the Apple Pencil. These changes will instantly improve your calligraphy by reducing jittery or wobbly strokes, as I give you all the pro tips and tricks to overcome this issue right from the start. By removing this problem from the get-go, you know that you're putting your best foot forward when learning the strokes. But like I said earlier, adjusting your streamline setting is not going to make you magically good at calligraphy. Another key part of this course is the special exercises that focus on gaining precise control of your Apple Pencil. The beauty of these particular practice drills is that you don't have to worry about remembering anything or learning the strokes. They are specifically designed with the sole purpose of getting you comfortable writing on the iPad screen with the Apple Pencil, so they're the perfect accompaniment to the main training. You can watch this bonus course at any time while going through the main course and come back as often as you need. When you first open Procreate, it can feel oddly empty. There are barely any buttons and everything seems hidden or controlled by mystery gestures that you don't know yet. And when you do start exploring, it's easy to get lost or accidentally tap on something that changes your whole canvas. That's exactly why I created the How to Procreate bonus course, to support you alongside the main calligraphy training. So if you ever do get stuck, all you need to do is just open the interactive workbook, tap on the tool, even if you don't know what it's called, and instantly you can watch a short video that clearly explains exactly how it works. Inside, you'll also get essentials from setting up your canvas and using layers properly to resizing your artwork, selecting elements, and time-saving gesture tips with confidence. You'll even discover smart ways to back up your files and organize your gallery so nothing ever gets lost. And the best part is, as a founding member of this brand new course, you'll also get access to future updates. So when the next version of Procreate is released or tools move around, you'll always have an up-to-date guide at your fingertips. No more guessing, no more Googling. You can always just find exactly the answer to what you need every time you open the app. So whether you're brand new to Procreate or you just want to feel more into control, this course is your secret weapon for making the app feel easy and your creative process way more fun. So by this point, you've spent time learning to draw beautiful calligraphy and maybe you're getting more confident creating your own designs. But there's one problem, you're just not sure what to do with them. You'd love to turn your work into something more tangible. That's where the Custom Gold Foil Cards bonus course comes in. This course walks you through how to take your digital lettering and transform it into stunning professional quality foil cards right from your iPad. So you'll learn exactly how to design for foil printing and prep your artwork so it prints clean and crisp. You'll also learn how to access hidden alternate letters and glyphs in fonts. This is something that you normally can't do in Procreate, but I show you a workaround which works really well. So this will give your typography a more custom and handcrafted feel. You'll get tips on choosing the right fonts, colors, and materials, plus a set of done-for-you templates to make your first cards even easier. Procreate isn't actually a full 4-color app, which you need for printing. I do recommend using another app to help you there, and Affinity Designer is my app of choice. You may have heard of it already. Well, the great news is I'm actually giving you a free copy when you enroll with the Pay in Full option today. You'll also get a coupon code to redeem a completely free copy of Affinity Designer 2 for the iPad. So if you've ever dreamed of creating luxe, one-of-a-kind kind of products with your lettering, whether that's invitations or greeting cards, this course shows you exactly how to do that. So I want you to know that I'm not special or particularly talented. I don't have a magic Apple Pencil or an iPad. I just have a proven roadmap that I followed to learn how to do this myself. And if I can do it, so can you. But what if you get stuck at some point? I want to make sure that you have everything you need to reach your goals. That's why I've included direct email access to me. If anything blocks your path to moving forward, you can reach out to me on my personal email and I'll get back to you with detailed assistance so that you can get the answers you need to move past any potential roadblocks. So this is everything you're going to get. You get the iPad Calligraphy from Scratch video course, the Procreate workbooks, the stroke stabilization training course. You get the How to Procreate course, the custom gold foil cards course in Procreate. You also get the Affinity Designer 2 app for the iPad. You get the Keep Me On Track pack. This is containing all your calendars, suggested word practice, and downloadable resources. Plus, you get direct access to me, all for a total value of over $1,300. So by now, you're probably wanting me to cut to the chase and get to the price. And when I've consulted my peers, they have said that I need to charge at least $1,000. But I know you guys are serious about learning, and while I know it's well worth it, that price point was a little high. So I cut it in half. And $499 will be the price if you purchase this bundle in a few days' time. But if you're an action taker and you just know this is perfect for you and you're ready to dive in, I want to reward your decisiveness. I'm like that too. I know what I want and I jump in when I see it. So if that's you, you can purchase within the next few days of this training and you get this amazing 5-course bundle and all these bonuses for $229. So after that, the price will go back up to $499. And to make things even easier, there's also a payment plan. This would normally be $169. You can get access today for $85 with 2 installments of $85 to follow, each 30 days apart. And that price will also go up to $169 in a few days' time as well. So if you're ready to get started, click the button below to enroll or go to iPadCalligraphy.com/yes. I'm trying really hard now to not say, but wait, there's more, because there is one more thing I need to tell you about. So if you choose the pay in full option today, there's also an additional bonus. You're going to get the iPad Calligraphy I Want It All kit. So inside this kit, you'll get all my Procreate brush packs for free. So that's 5 full Procreate packs with over $85 worth of brushes and textures, giving you an endless amount of resources to use in your Procreate designs. This pack includes my pencils and paint kit, my calligraphy essentials pack, my best-selling glitter and foil kit, my shapes and ornaments pack, and my texture toolkit pack. A commercial license is also included, so you can use these for both personal and professional purposes. I want to make this a no-brainer decision for you. So when you enroll today with the pay in full option, also send you 2 free paper-like screen protectors posted straight to your door at no extra cost. So remember earlier when I mentioned that the slippery grass feeling is like riding on ice? That's the number one frustration I hear from new beginners when they're starting out. But Paperlike transforms your iPad surface to feel more like real paper and gives you better control, making your strokes smoother and more natural. It's a real game changer for digital calligraphy, and I want to make sure that you have everything you need to start strong. You don't need to enter any code or anything. The discount will already be applied. So click that button below or go to iPadCalligraphy.com/yes, and you can get all the details and enroll to get access straight away. So if for whatever reason you don't fully feel confident and motivated by the content in this course and the training, you can simply reach out to me within 30 days of enrolling and I'll gladly refund your investment, no questions asked. So in the absolute worst case scenario, you sign up for the program and discover it's not for you, I take on all that risk and all you end up losing is a bit of your time. But even then, at least you gave it a shot and you know it's not for you rather than wondering. But in the best case scenario, you sign up, it's exactly what you're looking for, you breeze through the training, you love the practice sessions, and your digital calligraphy skills are transformed. You become a Procreate wizard, and signing up to this course was the best thing you ever did. Okay, I might be exaggerating that last bit, but you know what I'm trying to say. There's no risk on your end. So another past student of mine, Shirley, said, having spent hundreds of dollars previously on similar courses, I found yours the most informative. So at this point, you might be thinking, okay, Nicole, this sounds great and all, but I'm super busy. I just don't think I have time for this right now. And I get it. Time is in short supply for all of us. But this program was designed with exactly that in mind. So the letters are grouped into 5 per workbook, which should take approximately 20 to 30 minutes to complete. And really, that's less time than it takes to watch your favorite TV show these days. A quick little pro tip as well is if you leave the page open where you left off, you can easily see where you're up to from your gallery screen. So you can jump right back into that next session every time. You don't need to waste time trying to find out where you left off. Digital calligraphy is so flexible as well. There's no setup time or prep required. And being portable, you can practice from literally anywhere. So everyone can find 20 minutes in our day. The key is to stay consistent and keep it fun. It's supposed to be a relaxing activity as well. So this is a really nice combination of both learning and getting some downtime. As one of my students says, I can't believe how much of an improvement I can already see from before the course to now. I have terrible handwriting, but told myself it wouldn't matter, and I was right. Remember as well that if you have shaky hand when writing, that's okay too, because you're also getting that stroke stabilization course, which is looking at exactly that. It's going to help you minimize those jitters and wobbles and get a smooth stroke from your movement. Something else you might be wondering is whether you have the right equipment to take the course and what you might need. So we'll go through that now. All you need is an iPad, and the model, it just needs to be compatible with the Apple Pencil. Even if you use another stylus, knowing that it's compatible with the Apple Pencil will tell you that you have a model iPad that is fine for the course and for Procreate and for practicing digital calligraphy. And that's because we need that pressure sensitivity for the thick and thin strokes. So if you have another brand of stylus, as long as it has pressure sensitivity capabilities, then you're all good to go. And obviously you need the Procreate app as well. If you have any concerns with any of that though, just reach out to me directly on nicole@ipadcalligraphy.com and we can check it all through for you. So I don't know where to start. Will there be a clear plan? When you log in, the first thing you see under your welcome video is a suggested schedule. So this is going to help you plan out your practice sessions through your week so you know exactly when and where you're going to sit down to practice and how long the course is going to take. There's nothing worse than not knowing when the end is or how long the journey is. So if you like to stay organised, you're really going to like this calendar. There's also 3 different paces to choose from. And there's a blank calendar as well if those sessions don't work for you and you need a bit more flexibility. You've got a full list of lessons that you can slot into that blank calendar. And remember, there's no rush or deadline. The course fits around you and your life, so you can arrange it any way you like. So go to ipadcalligraphy.com/yes if you're ready to dive in, and you can get access there straight away. So when does the course start and finish? So the course starts now and never ends. You get immediate access and you can consume the content as slowly or as quickly as you like. It's completely self-paced, and remember, you have lifetime access to this. So as long as iPad Calligraphy exists, you have access to this course. You can watch it on any of your devices. And if you've heard of Teachable before, that's the platform where the course is hosted. Super user-friendly. You can tick off the lessons as you go and play it just like on demand. It's like Netflix. You just choose your next lesson and you're ready to go. So another question I get asked is, how long does it take to complete the course? And of course, that will depend on how often you are practicing and how you consume the content. But if you were just to sit there and watch the videos one by one, you could get through the content in a couple of weeks. But if you're practicing along with the schedule that I mentioned earlier, the fast-paced version will have you finished in 5 or 6 weeks' time, and those slower and steadier options take around about 8 weeks to complete. So what if you just downloaded Procreate and you feel overwhelmed? Will you be able to keep up? And I know it feels overwhelming, especially learning 2 things at once. That's definitely a common concern, so you're not alone there. And a big reason I created the course like it is to tackle those 2 learning curves. Digital calligraphy is everywhere now, and people are trying to do it on their own by piecing together these disjointed learning paths via sort of content on Instagram Reels or YouTube videos. But one way or another, you end up paying, whether that's paying for a course that lays it all out for you and those exact steps, or you pay with your time, so hunting and pecking all over the internet trying to piece it together, and with the very real possibility that you still won't reach your goals. So this is a step-by-step roadmap teaching both calligraphy and Procreate at the same time. So if you have some traditional experience already, this course is for both complete beginners and those with some traditional calligraphy experience that are moving to digital. So if you've tried traditional before, you will be able to transfer that knowledge you already have, but it's just a different experience using the iPad rather than pen and paper. So you'll just have a bit of adjusting to do, getting used to the iPad screen. But you'll definitely have a head start there and you will quickly be able to pick it up. But having those practice guides there allows you to really get familiar and used to using the iPad screen. So will you be able to move to traditional calligraphy at a later date? And the answer to that is also yes. Pretty much the same story there. You're going to have some adjustments with the tools, but all that knowledge that you learn of the strokes and how to make the letter forms, that's still going to be relevant. So you'll just be getting used to using the dip pen and paper, but the transfer of skills will be completely applicable. I don't know if this is going to work for me. So if you're still blocked somehow and you're still thinking, I'm just not sure I'm going to get this to work for me. I'm not sure I'm good enough. I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to write digital calligraphy. Now, remember that we've got that 30-day money-back guarantee. That takes all the risk off your shoulders. So if there's any chance that you think that this would work for you, sign up and give it a fair shot. And if it's not, no problem. We'll give you a full refund. So you're totally covered there. If you have any other questions, don't hesitate to reach out for me. I would love to answer them and get back to you. So you can send me an email over at nicole@ipadcalligraphy.com. I want to make sure that you're not on the fence. And if you decide not to join today, I want you to feel good about that as well. So if there's any questions that are going to clarify that decision for you, please don't hesitate to ask. And don't forget, you have the next few days to get the discounted price and then the additional bonus with all the Procreate packs when you opt to pay in full. So if you want to pick up that amazing offer, you've got the next few days to grab that. And don't worry, I haven't forgotten, before we finish up here today, here's the link that you can go and get all those cool freebies at. So it's ipadcalligraphy.com/downloads. So if you want to join me on this digital calligraphy journey, then please go ahead and click the button below or go to ipadcalligraphy.com/yes. Thank you so much for staying to the end. I really hope that you got loads of value out of today, regardless of whether you're joining me on the next step or not. And please reach out if you have any questions, but I hope to see you inside the course. Thanks again, and bye for now.